This is the second week in a row we're going to bring this topic up, but we got it from a completely different source this time, and I'm really excited for y'all to hear it. And also, have y'all seen the trailer to my Tate's Hell short film? You're going to tonight.
Something big is spooking residents. Multiple people have claimed to see a large furry animal trudging through the woods.
I literally could see him from all the way over here. I started hearing it. It was very large, and it was running so fast.
Of sorts for campers in Taos County. The Sheriff's Office is sharing safety tips on social media to protect yourself from
Bigfoot.
I saw something out of the corner of my eye off the side of the road in a culvert.
It's not like a bear, and it wasn't like a coyote. I've never seen anything like that.
No details, big, like 10-foot foam, big thing. You're freaked out, hand and leg.
I don't think it registered in what it was.
What's the likelihood that there are big animals that have gone undetected by scientists and by trained observers?
Welcome to the show, everybody, this Wednesday evening, and I forgot to put on deodorant, so I am smelling terrible. But I just got out of the pool and the shower. How does that work? I don't know, people. I guess I'm wearing an antiperspirant and not an anti-stinky rent, or however that goes, right? Hope y'all are all doing well tonight. I want to thank all the new subscribers coming to the channel. If this is your first live, please join the live chat. We have a good community built up there, and they always have very good conversation. It's very respectful. I'm super proud of it. So looking forward for all you people that have not been here yet to join us. And if you could, I'm watching my videos, right? I look at the analytics. 80% of the people that watch my videos are not subscribed, which is crazy because I'm gaining like hundreds of subscribers a day. Y'all click that like button, hit the subscribe and notification bell if you don't mind. If you enjoy it, you know, it's free. I've never wanted to beg for subscribers, and I'm not begging now. But if y'all go watch my content, you might as well, get on the list and be told when I got new stuff coming out. And speaking of new stuff, I dropped an interview today of myself from Canada when we were up in Temagami on the first night. Robert and Les wanted to interview me about my encounter, so Les had his cameraman set up, and Robert had his camera out and was filming me, and I went through all of my first encounter and then the footage encounter. It's about 40 minutes long. If you members haven't seen it, check it out. If you're not a member, you should become one. And why should you become one, you ask? Well, we do a free expedition every single year for the members only. And this one is going to be in the Red River Gorge, Kentucky, October 1st through 4th. So if you're a member, come out to the expedition. We're going to have some special guests out there. Probably going to do some live podcasting. May have some bands during the day. Like, we got a lot of stuff we're planning right now for it. And we're also going to attempt to break the world record for the largest Bigfoot hunt ever, or set the world record, because it's not really a world record. So we're going to set it, right? So we have a 300-acre private piece of property that is smack dab in the Red River Gorge. You will not see, there's things on this property you will not see anywhere else, and I mean that. So one road in, one road out, perfect place to look for Bigfoot. Y'all just shoot me an email if you're interested in coming out to the trip. We are taking everybody, You do have to pay your camping because of the property, right? Like, I'm not charging you for the whole event that's going to be up, but it's $30 a night to camp there. and that's going straight to the landowner. But when you see the property, it's a pretty fair trade-off, you know. So, anyways, wanted y'all to dig that, you know. Jennifer, we're not hunting them as in guns or anything. We're just going out and trying to record, maybe see one, a Bigfoot experience as opposed to a Bigfoot hunt, if that makes any better sense to you. BPD, I hope you got your DVD, brother. I hope you did. I know Dean got his. Tonight's guest, we're going to get to in a second. But first, I made a short film about the legend of Tate's Hell last year. Right? We had like 7 screenings, I think. We sold almost every single one of them out. Every place was slap full. People to see in this film. And then we never released it. But it's coming. We are about to release our short film Tate. And the reason we're doing that is because we are making it into a longer version. Me and Shane Grove, host from the Shadows podcast. We've wrote a feature-length script. It's going to be about an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes long. It's going to be a continuation of our short film. Not a continuation, but it's going to be what the short film should have been, right? Anyways, is that something you guys would like to see? I know this is a Bigfoot channel, but would you be interested in seeing it? I'm going to play the trailer for you right now, and then you'll tell me after you watch the trailer. So enjoy this.
I wish you were here. I heard you'd give me a hand. I don't know what to do. What did you do that day? Huh? With that shaman? Listen to me, I'm talking to a dead man like he's gonna answer me. Do you even hear me, Pa? The sap is dried up.
What?
I cut 3 new trees on the east end of the property last week, and it's like I never cut them at all.
Then what? Yourself. We can't go on like this.
I just need time to think. It's not that simple.
Why is it not that simple said? Why?
To fully understand, you must be without.
Where are you taking me? No matter what they say, don't trust them. They don't save you.
Who are you? We've been out here for a long, long time. Let's just leave it at that. I will save you.
Norman, are you there? I had my thing off that whole time. Oh no, we may have connections with Norman. He is in Alaska. I don't know what's going on. We'll figure it out, people. We always do. So Norman, if you can hear me, I'm going to put you in the back room again and just leave and then come back. Like leave the stream altogether, close out your app and all that, and then come back. That usually fixes the issue. Okay, now we got sound. All right. So what I was saying, we were going to bring Norman on. Norman is an author of the book Before Patty. And he's talking about, I assume, I didn't read the book, didn't have time. He did send me a PDF, and I am going to check it out. But I'm really interested in getting him in the show. Okay, he's left. So maybe he'll come back. Did y'all like that trailer? Did y'all like that little teaser trailer from Tate? We're going to be putting it up in a couple of weeks here on the channel. Pretty good, though. I think y'all will enjoy it. It's more like I would say, a PG-13 horror film. Not a lot of gore. As a matter of fact, no gore. And it's like Al Gore. Okay, he's back. And I still don't see him. Here we go. Maybe it'll work this time. Norman, do we got you this time, buddy?
Well, I'm hearing you.
Okay, I'm hearing you too. Good deal, brother.
Okay. Wow.
The service kind of spotty up there?
It can be. This is interior Alaska. We're kind of in the bush.
Right on, right on. So, you sent me an email. You have this book out. You know, you want to tell people real quick what the book is about?
Certainly, Stacy. The book is named Before Patty, Volume 1, Patrick, the Sasquatch-human hybrid, and our genetic inheritance. What it's about is I found an old anthropological paper that referred to interviews done on a reservation in Washington State. And part of that paper talked about an Indian woman being abducted by what they called a scanicum. She was held for a couple months at least, and she was able to escape, but she escaped, you guessed it, pregnant. And this was the 1890s, and that woman had a child. And even though I read this paper, I was like, I don't know, this is pretty far-fetched. I did some research, and I was able to find documentation of this child. And he went on to have 8 children. And some of them had children.
And are you thinking that these are Bigfoot people?
I think what we have in Patrick, and I did not make up that name. That was really his name. I think what we have in Patrick is literally a hybrid. He is half Sasquatch blood, and he's half what they call modern human blood. And obviously that doesn't happen unless the two parents are actually pretty closely related.
Okay.
So partly Bigfoot people, yeah.
Have you met these people?
No. Remember, this was 1890. So, of course, Patrick is long gone. He died in 1962 after an amazingly long life, a hard life. But, of course, he had children. The children have all died now as well. The last one was in the 90s. But those children had children. At a certain point, I deliberately stopped researching anybody that I thought might still be living, because you can imagine that could be a little upsetting in somebody's life to get news like that. Obviously, they may hear about this book, they may figure it out, they may or may not want to look into it. I think those people have the right to do so voluntarily.
Wow, that's so interesting. You know, that would be a strange phone call to get from somebody. Hey, it's Norman. I'm doing some research on a book, and it turns out your great granddaddy was probably the son of a Bigfoot. You know, I'd like to come by and swab your cheeks. You know, that would be odd. However, Norman, if this is true, that would be amazing, because you could actually look it up. And what would be really cool from it, for it is that you don't have to have a type specimen at that point. You know what I'm saying? To prove Bigfoot, especially if some of their DNA can match the DNA that's in some of these samples that have been collected over the years that are coming back as unknown. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, Stacy, but I think we'd still run into the problem of they would say that those are human contaminated samples. And of course, this person you're testing is human. So of course they can match. I think that is the problem. I think, though, what you could find in genetic testing are some real odd things that we don't find in the general population. And in fact, for my second book, I'm looking into some of those odd things that Ketchum pointed out, and that also Haskell, who did a lot of research into the Ketchum study, he was pointing out was indeed odd about the samples that she got.
Okay, well, let's talk about Ketchum for a second. How long have you been in the Bigfoot?
Since before you were born, I'm guessing.
How long have you been into the internet, like all the news and stuff? Like, do you remember when Ketchum came out the first time?
It was 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, right, here's my issue with her study, at least. And I'll admit that I don't know most of the ins and outs. My buddy, Todd Dissatel, like when she got her work done, I guess she was trying to get it reviewed. I guess she sent it out to some people, and he was one of the people that looked at it. And he was like, he basically called her a fraud, trying to do some fraudulent stuff. He doubted that she actually knew what she was doing. And then she kind of went away for a little bit and bought her own journal and then published her work in that, which is kind of weird. But now there's this resurgence of her DNA study, and I'm not saying this to talk down about her. Like, I know Todd Dissatel, he's a molecular geneticist, highly respected guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you come back to her, like there was rumors in 2013, like people called her the cat vet because she was a veterinarian, I guess, and not actually a DNA guy. But where am I? What am I missing? From what I've heard, what am I missing as to why people are getting into her DNA study? Is this maybe a question for her, but I'm hoping you understand it better than I do.
Well, I've had to research it lately because of the books that I'm writing. I've also been in communication with Dr. Haskell Hart, who wrote the book that analyzed her study very critically, even though he's an experiencer and he wanted her to get good samples. I think, though, to respond to your question, Stacy, the problem was she was used to analyzing samples that were established as human. So she was a little too specific in the way she used primers and looked for sequencing, a little specific to human. So, of course, her research tended to pull out the human stretches of the DNA. But you've heard the old thing about how we share 95% of our genetics with bananas. That's conserved genes. There's conserved and non-conserved. A conserved gene is a gene that's somewhat ubiquitous throughout animal species. Non-conserved tends to be more specific to that particular species. So she was often confusing conserved genes with something novel in her terminology, something new. But
now, are these conserved genes? Is that where people get support for Donald Trump's, like conservative genes?
No,
I'm just making a joke. That's cool, man. Yeah. So I know, because I know there was something. I know there was some reason that like Todd was so harsh, because when he's harsh, but he does all of my Bigfoot samples. he doesn't believe in Bigfoot. He's told me there is a 0.0000001% chance that it's real, but he wants to be the one to sequence it just in case that 0.00001 turns out to be a thing.
Yeah.
So that's cool, man. I'd love to talk to her and ask her. I don't know how open she is to questions like that, because it can come across as disrespectful, and I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. It's like I'm trying to interview Todd Standing right now. Most people call him a hoaxer. Well, I've never heard his side of the story, and I want to ask him all them hard-ass questions that people say about him on the internet, not in a disrespectful way. It's just like, hey, bud, this is what they're saying. This is why most people believe you're a hoaxer. Can you correct the ship? Because he's never come out, to my knowledge, and done that. And so I would like to give her the chance, to at least, because people like me from 2013 that remember all this stuff are like, she's a scam. When people started talking about her again, I was like, what is going on? And I seen David Politis was all connected with her and stuff. So it just got me confused as to what changed from the first time and the second time.
Well, here's the thing, Stacy. I actually believe she probably did get Sasquatch DNA submitted to her. And it's probably in those samples. And there was something like 140 samples that she had. The problem is because she, I think, frankly, bungled a lot of the samples, it reduced the credibility of the whole study. But even this Dr. Hart, he identified specifically, and this is from memory, but I think it's samples 20, 29, and 140. He said, there's legitimately odd things in these samples that don't make sense. And it's a shame she didn't study these properly because she might have been onto something. And he identifies things about those samples that are odd. And I'm actually tracking those myself. And for the second book, I'll be talking about or writing about those particular samples.
Okay, cool. So you said you've been into Bigfoot since before I was alive. You kind of dated yourself there, bro. You gotta be getting up there. But why did you get into Bigfoot? I know you said you were from Ohio, am I correct? Did I read that wrong?
I grew up in Seattle, Washington State, kind of the ground zero for Sasquatch. And when I was a kid, my father took me to a movie theater, and guess what film I got to see? It was the original Patty film. When they first got that footage taken, they made a little documentary about it, and it would be shown between movies. So I got to see that, and as soon as I saw it, I was kind of hooked. That was probably early 70s, 1970, somewhere in there.
Now, have you had a Sasquatch encounter?
I believe I have. I tend to doubt it. I doubt myself, but when I tell people about this sighting, they say, oh yeah, that was Sasquatch. What else was it going to be?
Right.
But for years, I did not identify it as such because it was only about 40 miles outside of Chicago. And I was not thinking Sasquatch, even though I'm all into Sasquatch.
Now, when you say 40 miles outside of Chicago, what town are you in there?
It was just outside of Woodstock, Illinois, which is where the exterior scenes of Groundhog's Day were taken. But
what?
The area
with Bill Murray?
Yes, that's the one.
Brother, I love that movie. That is one of my favorite movies of all time. I hope to go to the little festival that they have where he comes out and sees his shadow one day. That's like a bucket list item for me, is to go see that shit, as dumb as it is. I just want to experience it one time.
Well, next time you see the movie, think to yourself, this guy told me he thinks he saw a Sasquatch only 2 miles away from where Bill Murray's walking.
Oh, nice. So what happened? Go ahead and don't be teasing us. We don't do teasing around here, bro.
All right. So I went to a spiritual retreat at an old Catholic church and conference center. And so I'm in the hip and groovy spiritual zone, I'm oming and the like. And we would listen to a couple of the gurus, and they literally were gurus. And we get periodic breaks. So you'd be hip and groovy for a couple hours, and then you get a chance to go relax, get a bite to eat, or walk around the 40-acre wooded grounds. And I'm an outdoor-oriented person, so I would usually choose going out into the woods. So on this one particular day, I decided I was going to explore this funny trail that I had found. They had a lot of mown grass along the wood line, and I noticed at one point that wasn't even in view of the buildings, there was a trail coming out of the woods onto the grass. And I thought, wow, that's weird. Why would people be walking way over here to make this very well-defined, it was like 4 feet wide, and it had lots of clearance overhead. So I thought, I'm going to check out this trail, and I made a beeline for it. I go into these deep, kind of gloomy, deciduous woods. It's maples and oaks. I'm not really that part of the country person, but I believe that was the kind of trees I was dealing with, maybe some beech. And I'm on this trail, and it kind of goes up above the regular trail that most of the foot traffic would take. But I can tell I'm curving around to where I can kind of look down on the regular trail. And I can hear the sounds of people approaching from behind me and to my left, talking, having little conversations. But I noticed down below me, maybe 150 feet through the woods, but it's a very tall canopy, so I can see this far through all the trunks. I can see a black biped figure. To me, it seemed to be no more than 5 feet, 6 inches tall. This was not a tall figure. It was also not oddly shaped or proportioned. But what was odd about it was fuzzy around the edges. And there was no joint between sleeve and hand, between shoulders and neck, between shirt and pants. It was just uniformly black and slightly fuzzy around the edges. So I'm in my spiritual elevated state, and I'm hardly paying attention because I'm thinking holy thoughts. But I noticed this kind of in the back of my mind, that this is kind of odd. And I also observe its behavior. And it is literally doing things like this. It is peeking around trees. It's high stepping and tiptoeing through the brush. It's obviously spying on the approaching people. And my life is just full just jokes on me. I literally wonder to myself if I'm seeing some sort of spiritual manifestation, if it's like one of the gurus is out of body spying on people, making sure they're being holy as they walk in the woods. That's where my head was at. It was not thinking about Sasquatch. But this figure passes behind the trunk of a tree as it's doing this spying on the approaching people. And I wait for it to come out from behind the tree, and that's it. It's just gone. And at that point, I stop and think, that's a little weird. Where did it go? We hear this all the time, and I don't know where it went. At the time, I wasn't thinking Sasquatch. I just went on with my walk. Years later, I'm listening to another podcast, and somebody mentioned seeing Sasquatch close to Chicago, and I'm like, oh, God. Of course.
I had some people outside of Detroit, like really close to Detroit, and it was weird because I had two different people that lived like 30 minutes away from each other on as guests, and neither one of them knew each other, and they're both reporting like Bigfoot super close to the city limits. So I think these things may live closer than what people believe.
Yeah, I think they do, Stacy. I think actually, I don't want to offend any of the big guys, but I think a lot of them live much like coyotes, ravens, foxes, crows. They actually live off of humans on the periphery. I think they're
Mhm.
raiding trash cans, they're eating pet food, they're picking up stuff along the road, they're getting roadkill. I think that's one specialty of Sasquatch amongst many. But to think that just because you live in a small town or you're on the edge of a big town, I don't think that gives you a pass on Sasquatch activity.
Right. Now, back to your encounter. So it's went away. What do you do next? Like you said, there were people near, right? You heard some people coming up. Did they see anything, or did you tell anyone? Like, what happened?
I did tell people what I'd seen, but I was really thinking it was maybe the head guru doing some weird shape-shifting thing himself, spying on us, because he was about 5'6", and this wasn't a particularly big creature that I saw, but I bet you there was others. I did, in my exploration of those grounds, there was a swampy, brushy area. You know, it's part swamp, part brush. It was pretty thick. And I decided I'm going to go into that brushy area. I was just curious. And I couldn't make myself go into it. I just had this feeling like, no, I'm not going to go. So that was the other odd thing on those grounds. But, you know, I was there for like a 4-day retreat, and soon I was gone. And nobody I talked to about what I'd seen chimed in with, hey, we've seen weird things too. I seem to be the only one that I knew of reporting anything peculiar.
Now, you said you were in a spiritually elevated state. What does that mean, brother?
Well, I throw that in partly because it might have been key to this. You know, I was kind of in a meditative state. I was somewhat disassociated from my surroundings. My head wasn't busy. So if we do chalk up some sort of intuitive ability of these creatures, and I tend to lean that way, actually, it could be that I was in such a state that I was maybe blending in with the surroundings better than normal, because my mind was relatively smooth and focused rather than zinging all over the place and being frightened and this and that. So all I meant by that is I was focused. I wasn't upset. I was settled. I was calm. I was centered.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know if you meant like we took mushrooms or dropped LSD or something like that. Because it kind of sounded like a bunch of hippies were together, right?
I've been called a hippie, and it's not inaccurate. Actually, I don't need that stuff to get goofy. I can get goofy all by myself. So.
Yeah, good deal, brother. Yeah. Oh, man, we look like we've lost him again. Let's give him a second, see if he's going to come back on. All right, Norman. Repeat, rinse and repeat. Leave the link and come back. Sorry about that, guys. But you know how these issues go with the service. I can fill in. I'm a good filler. I'm a good time killer. Oh my gosh, I just rhymed. I might be a rapper. I might be releasing a rap song for members called Freaky with a Fat Girl that I played a long time ago. I played it out there for Robert and Les and all the people while we were in Canada. It came by request. Wasn't going to play it, people. I wasn't going to do it. But anyways, can y'all think about the reality of what he said? He's saying some lady Sasquatch was impregnated and escaped. And then she had children, and her lineage is still alive today. Can you imagine getting that call? I would absolutely love somebody to knock on my damn door and be like, yo, bro, I got some shit to tell you. Your granddaddy was nasty, cuz. And he done went and knocked up a Sasquatch, and turns out, you, my friend. Now we have an explanation for the big feet. and the hairy cheeks. These cheeks, people, these cheeks. If I don't shave my beard, it will grow all the way up to my damn eye sockets. So, am I part Bigfoot? I don't know. But that would be wild. I would absolutely love. But I think if you told somebody you got to come out and do a swab on them, Chris Hansen would probably be sitting there waiting on you. Take a seat. Take a seat. Take a seat, Stacy. you you coming out here to swab somebody, talk about they might be Bigfoot. Go ahead, take a seat, brother. You are a predator. All right, so maybe he's going to come back. I see he's left now. We're going to get him back on, people. Great conversation. He blew my effing mind with that first thing. I was like, what did I just hear? That is the wildest shit I believe I've heard on this show. All right, he's back now. Let's see. Here we go. Norman.
Yeah.
All right, we're back. Good deal. Okay, so you had your encounter. Did this cause you to go back into the woods looking to have another?
No, it was really it's a bit of a story, but I dropped Sasquatch for a while out of frustration. It was making no sense to me. And then, strangely enough, I had a funny dream. I think it was the winter of 2012. And in that dream, I said to somebody who had shown me some Sasquatch, I said, if what you say is true, everything we thought we knew about Sasquatch is wrong. And I woke up and I thought, everything we thought we knew about Sasquatch is wrong. And I went back to it with kind of a fresh outlook. And that's when I got rolling again after a lot of years away from Sasquatch.
So, what is it that's wrong?
I literally, as many of us who were raised on Dawhinden and Napier and Sanderson, etc., I thought we were dealing with an elusive mountain ape. And I reached the point about 1984 when I heard of tracks found under a bedroom window in Bellevue, Washington, which is now kind of a big place, and even then was a city. I thought, this makes no sense. An elusive mountain ape is not going to sneak up to bedroom windows and spy on people. And so I dropped it. But now, with my fresh outlook, I'm more open to, hey, are we dealing with what is a type of human? And that is what I believe now, partly because of the Patrick story, of course.
Right.
I think we're dealing with a type of human in the broad sense of human.
Yeah, you know, I had on Robert Kreider last week. He talked about the same thing. You talk to a lot of people that have this belief. I don't believe it's an ape. It doesn't make sense to me for it to be an ape. I don't think an ape could stay hidden as long as it has. And here's the issue, brother. I'm not educated. Like, I dropped out of high school to go on to like tour with my band and stuff. I'm good at stuff. Just it wasn't book smarts, right? But there are people that are much smarter than me in this field that continue to push this ape theory. And it makes me question why. I don't understand it. I think almost maybe they're being told to do that. I don't know. I don't know who would tell them that. Maybe the government. But it kind of blows my mind because when I started, I was in the ape camp, and then now I'm in the, I don't know what the hell these things are anymore. I know that I experience lights. I know my equipment will go dead when they're around.
Huh.
I know that it seems at least like I will have activity up here at my house where I live now, and I should not have activity here. If you're looking at things from an elusive ape side of the coin, with you saying that you believe they're a type of human, what do you have to say to the things that seem almost otherworldly, like the telepathy or the lights, because like you said before, you went to that swamp and you got this overwhelming feeling like, I don't need to go no further. I've gotten that same damn feeling before. And I think that's a projection from them. But where do you land on all that?
Yeah, I've had that feeling other times as well. Here's the problem with how I see things. I believe that they should be considered a type of human with all the rights that follow, including the right to not be contacted if they don't want to. But I'm also very aware there's some damn peculiar stuff associated with these guys. So, believe it or not, my book 3 is tackling the weird stuff. And part of that goes back to that retreat I went to. It was actually a retreat for Kriya Yoga, which is a branch of, it's like the philosophical branch of Hinduism. And there are things in those teachings which really line up with the things that Sasquatch does, which I find very interesting. So that'll be part of book 3 for me. I'm not convinced that what Sasquatch is reported to do is not impossible for you and I to be able to do. It could be that Sasquatch tends to be a little bit more talented, proficient at this type of stuff. Well, on the technological end, they're crap. But they can mess up your batteries and do all this amazing things that we can't through technology, not easily. I'm very open to those things, Stacy. I personally have had experiences that would be on the paranormal side. Definitely. Some of them bizarre, some of them humorous. There's only one I can really say that's got a strong link to Sasquatch. There's a lot in this mysterious world we don't understand. And it's possible we're confusing some paranormal activity, thinking it's Sasquatch that isn't. But maybe it is.
But that's another part of it. That's why I say I don't know, right? I know the things I experience. Like we have a guy in the chat, Mike, right now, who's talking in absolutes. He's on the scientist side, right? And he's talking yada, yada, yada. There's reasons for this. Issue with that, Mike, is that may change in 50 years. The things we know right now may not be the same things we know 100 years down the line, right? And stuff you think is magic today may just be normal, down the road, not too far. Mm-hmm. Especially when you see the CIA and stuff talking about like remote viewing. They've spent so much of our tax dollars on remote viewing and those files and things like that. There seems like there's some kind of stuff that people can do that the majority of us are unaware of, right? But you're correct. It could be some type of paranormal activity going on, and Sasquatch just happens to be around.
I sometimes wonder if there's like an adjustment bureau at work. I don't know if you saw that movie, but I wonder if there's some entity that isn't Sasquatch, that isn't human, that is carefully keeping us apart. I don't have any strong reason to believe that, but I wonder sometimes if the orbs aren't Sasquatch and they aren't human, but there's something else and they are associated with the Sasquatch. But this is just huge conjecture on my part. I have no idea. I don't know what's going on either. But it's
Yeah,
darn
at the end of the day, I think that's the healthy part, because when people get into a certain rut that they will not leave for, I don't know, maybe fear of ridicule or fear of the unknown, you end up hunting this creature since 1960, and then you still have not furthered anything in the field. It's a definition of insanity. You continue to do the same things over and over again and expecting a different result.
May
But
I
where
address-
would? Yeah, go ahead, buddy. Whatever you want to
Would
say.
it be all right if I mentioned Dr. Jeff Meldrum?
100%, dude.
In a compassionate way. I've been part of putting on the Boreal Bigfoot Expo in Fairbanks, Alaska a couple times. Great experience. On the second one, we had Dr. Meldrum come up as one of our speakers, and I got to have lunch with him. He was a very kind, polite, intellectual guy, very easy to get along with. I had no problem with him. I have researched his 2006 book. I think I got that right. Legend Meets Science. He did some excellent work in there. It's kind of weird that he didn't publish anything beyond papers after that. But he did some really good work in there on foot structure, locomotion, etc. But I also wrote up a paper and submitted it to him, and he just kept, for his relic hominid inquiry, he actually had a scientific journal through the University of Idaho, and he just put me off and put me off. He said he wanted to publish it, but then I wouldn't hear for 2 months. I contact him again, he'd say I'm sorry, then I wouldn't hear from him for 2 months. It was weird. It was like he was ghosting me, but he didn't want me to get suspicious or something. And of course, he was getting ill towards the end of that time, so that may have been part of it. I don't know. I just agree with you. There's been a tendency amongst some people to hang on to what I think is the past, and we need to react to new information. And that's part of what I do. I feel that science has failed Sasquatch, but also the Sasquatch research community has failed science somewhat. And I'm trying to apply scientific rigor to what I'm writing and studying, because I just think we should. I think we should go that route as far as we possibly can, and I don't think we've exhausted that yet.
I don't think so, but and maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you won't. But I think the issue with Bigfoot is in the package, right? Bigfoot is a dumbass name. It's comical. You know what I'm saying? Like I think if we were approaching skeptics with the term wild man, or we were talking about, hey, we think there may be another like section of humans, race of humans, I don't know what you would call it, another type of human still existing in the forest of North America, or around the world, right? Something that maybe we thought was extinct, a Denisovan, Heidelbergensis, something like that. Or maybe it's something all new altogether. I think with approaching science from the Bigfoot community, you have to leave the Bigfoot out of it, and you have to talk about it as it's like a relic hominid or something. Be like, yo, hey, I think we've got evidence of some other type of human out here in the woods. I think that would be an easier sell. Would you agree on that?
I would certainly agree, and that's part of the point of this book. I do believe they are at least functionally a type of human, and they deserve to be considered and treated that way. I tend to use Sasquatch. The Colville Indians use Scanicum. There's sometimes I'll say the night people, the quiet people. There's ways around using Bigfoot. If I was one of them, I'd probably be a little offended by the term.
I mean, yeah, hell, maybe not. Maybe you're proud of your big feet. I know I'm proud of mine. But I just think that, like, I would have called my show something else, but I want people in the Bigfoot world to watch it, so I had to stick with the damn name Bigfoot Underground. You know, you can't say Wild Man or Hairy Man. The majority of people aren't going to know what you're talking about. And what I'm hoping is that there's some skeptics that tune into my show, and maybe I can turn a light bulb on for them, you know. Now let's get back to Meldrum for a second. Meldrum had this thing about the mid-tarsal break, okay? Now, according to science, like 9% of... I think we lost him again. Yeah. We lost him again. He'll be back. I know it got sounding weird there for a second. But yeah, Mike, I wasn't picking on you, bud. Hope you didn't take offense to that. But I was just, you were sitting here talking all these things. And I don't know. We can't talk in absolutes. If I'd have took this 100 years ago, that'd have been considered witchcraft, right? You know, being able to capture somebody's image on a little device in my hand. I think people would have thought that was no, you know, yeah, this connection's not too good, but he's in inner Alaska, wherever that means. What point? What point? My point, I was saying, people, I wanted to wait for our guests to get back so we could talk about it together. But what I was saying is that they say Sasquatch has a mid-tarsal break. And humans, they say 9% of humans have a mid-tarsal break. I know I got some Bigfoot researchers watching this. And we are back.
What a nuisance for you.
Oh, it's all good, brother. I don't mind. What I was saying to you was that Meldrum claims the mid-tarsal break in Sasquatch. And then he's discarded tracks that don't have these features. But they say 9% of humans have a mid-tarsal break. So if that's true, then why can we assume that 100% of Sasquatch have a mid-tarsal break?
I myself wonder if it's something that maybe develops with age and weight, that maybe the young kids wouldn't show it at all just because they haven't completely flattened their feet out yet.
Right.
The clearest tracks I've seen were more hourglass shaped. They weren't really flat-footed. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I wondered if he used that excuse to discount tracks that he didn't care for where they'd been found. And I've heard him discard tracks that were found, like maybe in your location, places that he just felt weren't appropriate for Sasquatch.
Right. And so here was the thing, right? And I'm not downing him. I know the man's passed and he can't defend himself, but I'm not downing him. It's just something that happened. I took him some tracks and he told me they were a stamp, that somebody stamped them into the ground. Where I found these damn tracks, brother, the chances of me coming across this were slim to none. Why would you do that and leave it? So it left it up to, I had to be the one that stamped them into the ground, right? And I know I didn't. Years later, I take him the same track, and he tells me something completely different, right? And then, in between that time, he showed up at the property I was working, and he told the landowners to not tell me that he was there. He was there with like a bunch of guys who had a bunch of guns. Like I had them on my game cameras. Like, dudes were armed to the teeth. And I get it. He's a scientist. He was trying to get a specimen, right? The story from the landowner is that he had 6 properties that he went around the country and checked out, trying to get proof. And he was funded by the brother of the owner of the Chicago Cubs owner's brother, right? And in this, he picked my spot, even though he had told me that a slew of tracks that I pulled out of there were stamps. And then he comes down there, and then years later, he tells me that they're not stamps. And so I wondered, I don't know, maybe I caught him on a bad day. It's just odd when people can say something one time, and then you wait years later, and they see it again, and they're like, oh, let me tell you why this is real.
Yeah, the whole situation stinks. That was not a healthy to deal with those tracks.
No, and I've seen him do it to other people, and I always say when I look at tracks, I'll be like, yo, I believe that's human, but I don't know. I had a guy on the show who dude must have brought in 50 tracks. I believed one of them was from a Sasquatch. Right? And I just kept telling him, I think that was human. But I don't know. You know what I mean? I could be wrong on this. So don't take my word as gospel. So where can people get your book, brother? Because I've had people in the chat talking about it.
The easiest way to get to my book is probably through beforepatty.com. Beforepatty.com. It's also available in 3 different formats on Amazon. I imagine if you Google Before Patty, it's going to show up. Beforepatty.com has all sorts of links as well. It also has links to my academia.edu site, where you can find papers that I've written on the Sasquatch situation, and also a presentation on stick structures at academia.edu/Norman Sollie.
Okay. Well, y'all check that out, Before Patty. Now, what is your theory on the stick structures?
Once again, unless you see a Sasquatch building a stick structure, you can't be certain. It's like if you find a track. If you don't see the Sasquatch make the track, you can't be certain. You can be pretty certain. I can only speak to the stick structures that I personally have found. The ones that I have found, one interesting thing I noticed about them is a lot of them seem to be imitations of human structures, and they also seem to be placed for humans to see. And the last thing I noticed in this one area in the Colorado Rockies where I found a lot of amazing stick structures, many of them always had 2 things inside the structure, like 2 chunks of log, or a chunk of log and a trunk mass that had been carried in and placed there. It seemed to be some sort of calling card to put 2 things inside the stick structure. I do think that Sasquatch is making stick structures, if for no other reason than I am finding them in areas where I'm finding other indications of Sasquatch. But it could be some cases we have humans making them to confuse the issue. I have found against a lean-to stick structure cut branches thrown up against it, and I think that might have been a case of Sasquatch built a lean-to, and then humans thought they would improve it to make it a sleeping place.
Right.
I don't actually know, but they're fascinating. I love them.
What do you think they're for? I mean, I know you don't know for sure, but I know you got a theory.
Well, I think sometimes they are art. I think sometimes they are an attempt to reach out to us. I think they're a form of communication. I think Chris Knoll might be on the right track when he suggests that there seems to be more of an autistic way of looking at the universe in Sasquatch. And maybe what they build with or play with is how they can communicate more easily with us. but I think there can be communications to us. For instance, I have a cabin, a remote cabin. You think this is remote? I've got a cabin I got to hike into. There's no roads. The trail is my own. It's really just a route with some flagging. The first time I went on this particular route, I first passed a moose hunting camp. There was actually moose remains there. You could see where four-wheelers had been mashing down the brush. I went about 100 yards further on a moose trail, a very distinct moose trail at that point, and there had been 3 small trees laying perpendicularly all together. And I'm looking around up in the trees. I'm looking for stumps. Those trees had been carried there, and they weren't cut. They had been broken off. And I immediately thought, this is a no trespassing sign. I could tell that they were a little bit old. I think they'd come from the previous fall, from moose hunting season, and I think they had been broken and carried there and put across the trail to tell those hunters, don't come any further this way. Now, humans are very obtuse. I think we're probably seeing Sasquatch sign all the time, and it's just going over our heads, and we don't know what the heck to make out of it. But to me, when I saw those trees, it was saying no trespassing. So what do? I go past the trees up to my cabin. I'm still stepping over them, but I got to admit, every time I step over them, I basically out loud say, this is what I'm doing. I hope I'm not causing any trouble. I'll be careful. I'll stay on the trail. I don't mean any harm. Please let me come through and not give me a bad time. And they don't. It always works out. But that's an example of what I think was communication, which to them is probably crystal clear, and it probably drives them nuts when we don't get it. Things like that. It probably drives them nuts.
Now, do you think that they could harm humans? Do you think they're, in some cases, violent?
I live in Alaska, interior Alaska. I think there was some show called the Alaska Killer Bigfoot and everything. I tell people I'm in Alaska, I'm into Sasquatch. They want to know, well, you must be dealing with very aggressive animals. Sorry. I mean, I'm an animal too. I'm not. Up here, I've gotten nothing but really just curiosity. I did have a slap on the house once when I think I had annoyed a youngster. But generally, I'm not having any trouble here. But of course, I'm like announcing myself as I step over the no trespassing sign and asking permission, essentially. I don't put it that way, but I have encountered a little bit of, we could say, testiness in, of all places, Western Massachusetts. But to fully answer your question, yeah, I think they can have bad days. I think probably some portion of the disappearances probably are Sasquatch. I think it's probably a very small portion. I feel safer in my woods than I do in a major city.
100%, dude.
Yeah.
These people ain't got no sense nowadays, bro.
Yeah. So I hope I answered your question.
But hold on. You said something about Western Massachusetts. What about Western Massachusetts?
So I had a chance a couple of years ago to work for a couple internet personalities. And I said, I want to see your place before I make a decision. So I flew out there, rented a car, went to their property. On day 2, I excused myself and said, I want to take a walk in your 300 plus acres and just kind of get a feel for it. Believe it or not, what I was doing, I wanted to find Sasquatch sign. before I moved there. I really, I'm getting strange in the head. I want to have Sasquatch around me. I want to believe that's possible. I took a walk, and you know what I found? I found a very crude lean-to structure that they did not know was on their property. It was news to them. And I thought, maybe I could live here. So
Right.
they were out in rural country. They had, as I mentioned, about 300 acres. Part of it was farm, gardens, chickens, cows. I took care of cows. I was essentially a ranch hand for a while, which is a hoot to me. Just miles and miles and miles of woods around them, including what they called a mountain. To me, it was a hill. It had a tower on top of it, a lookout tower. In those views, you could hardly see anything human. You just say valley after valley, drainages, trees and trees and trees. And I started having experiences there, including, to get to the testy part I mentioned, I maybe foolishly, I started a gifting station. And I didn't think about it real hard. I just started leaving apples, chocolate, etc. And I got up there one day after I'd been having things disappearing. I got up there one day and I found a tree that had been growing about 20 feet away, had been snapped at about the 10-foot high mark. It had been laying over my gifting station, which was up on a pedestal of log rounds. It was very precarious. This tree was laying just perfectly over my gifting station. It was centered over the gifting station. It was so clearly a message for me. And I'm kind of funny. I saw that. I just burst into laughter. I laughed for like 5 minutes. I thought that was the best joke, but it was a very clear message. And what I heard was, stop feeding our kids, you freak. And, I hadn't said what I was doing, why I was leaving this stuff. I just started doing it. And I think there was a miscommunication. I didn't mean to cause trouble with the kids, but I think that's how it was seen. There was also a spot 50 where I would take my lunches. I would just sit on a stump. And I soon noticed, away from where I was sitting, something had torn bark at 10, 12 feet above grade, had torn the bark up there and pulled the strip down and laid it still attached to the tree right at the feet of where I sit there. And I looked up at that and I thought, oh man, they know I sit here when I come up here. And I never felt their presence or anything, but I could tell I was being watched, and they were leaving that strip bark specifically as a message to me because they knew sitting there and I'd see it.
Well, that's pretty neat, brother. So I was shocked to hear that your book has nothing to do with Patty now, does it?
Not much. There's a little compare and contrast. And I do a review of what we know about Sasquatch for people maybe that are kind of new to Sasquatch world. So I talk about Patty, but it's really more about this hybrid. I found over 160 documents about this guy's life. I found from October 1928 pictures of this guy. People tend to ask that pretty quickly. Did you get any pictures? Amazingly, I did from 1928. These are mugshots, almost 100 years old. He got into a lot of trouble with the law, I hate to say. But I have pictures of this guy. They're in the book. They're on page 183, beforepatty.com. People ask right away, they want to know hair patterns, Does he look weird, etc.? He does look weird. He looks peculiar. There's a few things I noted. One, he has a compressed neck. When we talk about Sasquatch, we're very aware that the head tends to be down in the shoulders. This guy legitimately does have a short neck compared to, I have a control I use in the book, a regular Colville Indian, I shouldn't put it that way, but another Colville Indian, and his neck is less than half proportionally the size of this other guy. And in my research, I found out that's a characteristic of Neanderthals, to have compressed cervical vertebrae. And that may be a coincidence, but at least it's interesting. He also has a steeply sloping forehead. You and I tend to have close to a vertical forehead. His slopes back at like more than 22 degrees from our norm. Also, his brain mass is not so much up here, it's rotated down into the back. He's got an overhang in back of his skull. That's also more a characteristic of Homo erectus, Neanderthals, a lot of the earlier hominins or early Homo line. That's in there also. What I found really strange is his ears are down and rotated backwards compared to ours. I shouldn't say ours, compared to the normal modern human. In the normal modern human, if you draw a line between the two pupils and extend them out, the ears go up above that line a bit. His ears are well below that line. So they're what is actually called low set ears. And they're also rotated back about the same, coincidentally, as the forehead, about 22 degrees backwards.
Now, did he have any kind of like mental handicap? You know what I mean?
Good question. No. Not only was he not slow, he was described as highly intelligent. And you're going to love this, Stacy, and some of the people listening are going to love this. In that original paper by Dr. Ed Fuchs, Fusch, and you can find it online, he interviewed somebody that used to work for Patrick, and he said it was hard to play cards with Patrick because he always seemed to know what was in your hand.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You know what else that the people listening this would love?
No.
Is if you held your book up and flipped to page 183 and showed us a picture of this dude, bro.
Okay.
Like you said it. I got to see it.
Is that close enough?
That's close enough, brother. Thank you so much. Wow. And he does look weird. Okay, so what is he getting arrested for? Is he like getting into some scruffs down at the bar, or like what's this man doing? Stealing fruit, climbing trees?
Well, since you mentioned getting into bar fights, one thing he was arrested for was assault against another man on the reservation. This man was 20 years younger, and he was a foot taller. And Patrick had a knife, and he used a knife. And I have no idea what the circumstances were. I bet alcohol was involved. I found this other guy's draft card from World War II, and he was described as having a scar on his right bicep. I think it was her left bicep. And I don't know, but I wonder if that was from Patrick's knife. And I believe it was left because that made more sense for a right-handed guy, and I believe Patrick was right-handed. So that was one case. I know of one other case where he got into a fight, a scuffle. But frankly, and I feel terrible about this, it was mostly alcohol related. Patrick was actually doing really well in life up to about that time he got his mugshot taken. Uh, he owned 103 acres of land. He was part of the allotment system. Um, After he was born, they started doing allotments, and he applied. He got allotments. I have seen the land patent. It is reproduced in the book. It is signed by President Woodrow Wilson. And it's got
Nice.
Patrick's name is on it, 100.94 acres, something like that. Signed by Woodrow Wilson. I found 2 draft cards for Patrick, both World Wars. That poor guy, he had to sign up for the draft for 2 World Wars. I found birth certificates, death
Did he go?
certificates. I don't believe he ever had to serve. He was pretty old by World War II. You know, he was pretty much he was pushing 50.
Yeah.
But in World War I, he claimed that he had to support his wife and kids, and his father and his mother, and I think he was given an exemption. I don't believe he ever served, but he sure got in trouble with the law. And you know, you can imagine Patrick was so much of an oddball. He was probably dealing with some devils. I think he knew. I think he knew who his father was, and that was probably a tough thing to live with.
Okay, so his mother's the Sasquatch, though, right?
No, the father was.
Oh, the father was a Sasquatch.
A mother, an Indian woman, was abducted. She was seen abducted apparently by witnesses. They saw what got her. There was even a guy there with a rifle who held off shooting because they believed if they heard a Sasquatch that they would suffer 12 times the revenge. That was the thought at that point, the 1890s. But they kept looking for the woman, and she eventually saw Indians on horseback while the Sasquatch was napping, leaving her to dig up Indian potatoes, a wild tuber. And she made a beeline for the horses, and they rode her out of there. But she was pregnant. She may not have known at the time, but she knew eventually. And I think it was an open secret in the small town on that reservation of where Patrick came from. I think they tried to cover it up, but I don't think it worked. And I think he was probably a pretty odd baby to start with.
Right. You know, I don't know how I've never heard of this story. How did you hear about it? Like, I'm glad you're on telling me this stuff because, dude, I have never heard this shit before, and it's so much more interesting than what I thought. I thought we were going to talk about the Patterson Gimlin film.
Okay, so I went to the 2019 International Bigfoot Conference in Kennewick, Washington.
Okay.
And there was a Russian researcher there named Dr. Igor Burtsev.
Yep.
Excuse me. I'm still in communication with him. He gave a talk. Russell Accord kind of acted as translator. It was a hoot. Igor was talking about Sasquatch essentially in Asia, particularly in Russia. I was fascinated. He mentioned he had a book. I made a beeline for his vendor table. I asked how much is the book to the young guy who was just watching the table. He said, I don't know. Igor walked up. Igor heard the question and he said, $300. And everybody there reacted with astonishment, dismay. And then he leaned close to me and he said, too much? For you, $200. And I've been looking through the book. It's an amazing book. It's got color pictures, Russian part English. I pulled out my wallet. I gave him $200 cash. I thought he's been schlepping this across the globe. He's probably paying for his trip. I'm going to help. In this is a letter from Dr. Bayanov, I think from 2005, he mentions this story. He mentions Dr. Ed Fuchs. He says, I wish that somebody in North America would put as much attention into this story about Patrick as Dr. Burtsev has about Zana in Russia. So I didn't discover that. I didn't start reading the book right away. It was 2022. I ran across this passage. I thought, well, heck, what is this? Kind of reacting like you. How come I haven't heard this? I get online. You can find the paper. I think it's at a Bigfootology site. But if you put in Dr. Ed Fuchs, Fusch, I think you will be able to find this paper too. It's there. You can find the paper. You can read about Patrick. I brought it to the Boreal Bigfoot Research Group. I talked about it to Heather Moser of Small Town Monsters. She did the initial research. I told her, don't tell me the last name. I don't want to know at this point. Will you let the Bigfoot Research Group, the Boreal Bigfoot Research Group, know about what you found? She said, I think I found him. I think he exists. She gave us the Cliff's Note version. We talked about writing a book. She got too busy. I started researching, and without knowing his last name, I found the same guy. And that's why I am so passionate and convinced about this. I spent 2 years researching it. So I see the trail. I realize that any of you, and I can't remember if it's Mike or Matt, the skeptic in the chat, I understand. It's a wild story. It's very hard to believe. I did the time. I don't expect anybody to be convinced by this book. I just hope that they might consider the possibility. And I do believe we can explain Patrick in a scientific way. We don't have to go paranormal to come up with what Patrick was and how he came to be. I think how the hominin hybridizes. I don't think Patrick defies that. I don't think hybridizations in general mean, as I thought, that the average of the two, a tall Sasquatch, a very short Indian woman, maybe making a medium-sized Sasquatch. It doesn't really work that way. There's genetic things in place to protect the mother, even natally, even before the child is born, to keep the size down. There's various things I go into in the book that, in the light of that, I don't find Patrick particularly surprising. I do have.
It's very interesting, man. I wonder if the people alive today know this.
I bet if you're talking about his ancestors, his descendants, excuse me, I would think that some of his descendants do. I would think so. They must.
Now, these are all going to be native people, right?
No. The cat is out of the bag, as Kramer on Seinfeld would have said. They intermarried. We're a mix now. If we look into your blood, Stacy, you probably got some Cherokee or something in there. We're a mix.
I'm pure white, brother.
All right.
No, I'm just messing with you. Hey, funny story, dude. Funny story. I was working at Walmart, and I had a guy that worked with me, and he was a black guy. And then he was looking through his phone one day, and I seen a picture of my aunt on there. And I was like, bro, why you got a picture of my Aunt Patty in your phone? And he's like, that's my mama. I was like, that's your mama? So, yeah, dude, I probably got all kinds of everything along my bloodline.
Seriously?
Yeah, dude, hey, we worked together for like 6 months, and I never knew he was my cousin.
Whoa. And her name was Patty, you notice.
Oh yeah, hey, yeah, she was. It was. It was.
Another little
Yeah.
bit from the universe. Yeah, the family intermarried. I have found descendants in 4 different states, including east of the Rockies. I even estimate in the book that there's probably somewhere in the mid 40s living ancestors right now, just projecting. I think there's lots. They're spread out. They're having kids of their own now. The grandkids are having. Yeah, it's out of the bag.
I wonder if Eddie Murphy was right. Did you ever hear the little clip he did where the little Bigfoot children, he took them fishing and they put their face in the water and caught the fish and they were like goony goo goo. Have you heard that?
No, I haven't heard that.
You have to look up Eddie Murphy, Goonie Goo Goo. It's
Eddie
about,
Murphy, Goonie Goo Goo.
yeah, it's about his uncle going on a camping trip and coming back with a Puerto Rican wife, but she was actually a Bigfoot that he shaved down, and then they had little Bigfoot children. And it's hilarious, brother.
I'll try to look that up. That sounds
yeah,
funny.
man. So let me ask you, enough bullshitting from my end. Let me ask you, what are your thoughts on the Patterson film? I know it's catching a lot of flack nowadays. The possibility that there's proof that it's fake is out there. So where do you land on it? Do you feel that footage is real? I know you've seen it when you was young, so you're probably attached to it in some way, shape, or form. But what are your thoughts, man?
That's a good point about me being attached to it. I was alive in 1967, very aware of Hollywood and what Hollywood could do. I am no expert on cinematography or the Patty film, but I just don't see that being been done in 1967. I don't see it at all. That is before CGI. Even up until the early 2000s, I think that would have been tough to pull off. And also, there's things about the gait and proportions of what's in that film that don't match up well at all with modern humans. I'm attached. I am more inclined to. Well, I don't know anything. I haven't watched that documentary, the recent documentary.
Right.
But I just don't. I have a predisposition to think the Patty film was not a hoax. I've been around Bob Gimlin. He's such a sincere, kindly old guy. I don't see him being part of it, and I think he would have had to have been part of it. I don't know. I don't buy it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, but and here's my issue with it is when I look at the footage, I just see a man in a costume, like 100%. But now I've hung out with Bob on a couple of occasions, and brother, I believe what he's telling me. You know what I mean? He seems so genuine the way he comes across. So I'm torn. I have no idea. I wasn't there. I'd like to. I can't wait to see the film. Because I'm interested. Everybody that's in Bigfoot now, it's either like Boggy Creek, Harry and the Hendersons, or the Patterson film that really got you into Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Depending on your age. Mine is more of Boggy Creek and Harry and the Hendersons. But yeah, it's interesting times we're living in, brother. I'm glad I'm getting to, see that and experience that. Now, how close to what you saw? I know what you saw, you said was small, but how close did that look to Patty? Because what I saw didn't look a damn thing like Patty, right?
Well, I think the fuzziness was hair. You probably figured that out, but I think that was hair. And that was pretty much total. So I think whatever I saw was probably totally hair covered, but it was fairly short hair. It couldn't have been more than 1 or 2 inches. It was, it's kind of spiky, sticking out all over the place. What I saw, I did not notice any any odd thing in the proportions or the shape of the head, but I think a lot of that may be our adult things that develop later on. You know, as children, as modern human children, our heads are large proportion to how they are in the end. We grow into our heads, or we grow away from our heads. So it would make sense for a young Sasquatch to appear to have a normal sized head, as opposed to with the adults, the heads seem to be relatively small compared to the size of their bodies. What I saw, if it was a Sasquatch, I bet that was maybe 6 years old. That was pretty young. So no, and it was black. It was pretty much uniformly black. In researching my second book, I am finding so many different varieties, shapes, forms, size. I'm trying to stick to Sasquatch, but I'd say there's like 3 or 4 pretty distinct 6 to 10 foot species, and there's also 3 feet and under. There's 4 to 5 feet. There's 5 to 6. There's even things over 10 foot that just blow my mind. I don't get them at all.
Speaking of that, you're in Alaska. Have you heard the Fred Roll story?
Fred was one of our speakers at the second. He was with Meldrum. He was in the same conference with Meldrum, if you can imagine that. I got to hear his stories. This might have been the first big audience he spoke in front of. This is 23, I believe. He had no notes. He just sat down. That audience was just enthralled. They were quiet as a mouse, just drinking it in. That guy spoke from the heart. He's had a different experience from me. He's had a harsh experience with Sasquatch in Alaska. But yes, I have heard Fred's stories, and you're right. One of them is of something very big that doesn't really match up with Sasquatch very well. And I've seen some odd tracks here that I was too scared to even go investigate. They were on a snow-covered meadow, and they were too big, and they had too much distance between them. And there was, once again, a voice in my head saying, don't go down there. You're not safe out in the open. And I didn't. I stayed in the woods.
Mm. Well, how far are you from where he is? What happened to him?
I was describing events in Western Alaska, which in one frame of reference, it's really close, because between me and there's not a road. Not a road to be found. You can just walk there. But it's about a 500-mile walk. Alaska is enormous. Texas is dwarfed by Alaska. Sorry, Texas. It is a big state with hardly any roads. It's got thousands of miles of coastline. And the saying here is, when the tide goes out, dinner is set. Lots of habitat for Sasquatch along the coast. As far as environment,
oh, now, bro,
I am right here in the same environment that Ted was in, boreal forest. It just goes on and on and on.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get to Alaska. It won't happen this summer, but maybe next summer. I'm definitely not going in any time but the summer. I just can't handle it, because like once you get cold, bro, your damn mind, you don't think straight. I noticed that in Canada, and it really bothered me. It's like I'm having a problem doing functions that I normally would have no issue. Maybe I was freezing to death. Yeah. I actually was. I don't know. But I hope to meet up with Fred, and I'd love to go and stay the night where his stuff happened. Maybe that's not a good idea, but I just want the experience, man.
Well, where that happened, I think, is way out there. I think you're going to be flying a small plane and taking a boat ride. But I encourage you to do it. Feel free to look me up. Give me an email ahead of time or a call. I can give you some wilderness experience here. You know, frankly, probably anywhere in Alaska, inside of a couple big cities, there might be stuff going on. Uh, so you don't have to limit yourself or think you need to get to one certain place.
Right. Now, y'all have grizzlies all over Alaska, or is that just mainly by the coast?
No, pretty. Where I'm standing now, I say I'm in a subdivision, but they're 5-acre lots, 80% wooded. A few summers ago, I was practicing my bow and arrow skills, which are terrible. They're going all over the place. I'd lost an arrow in the spongy moss we have here, and I was feeling around for an arrow. And this is literally 50 feet from where I'm talking to you. I'm looking at the location. I hear just the faintest of noises. I'm holding one arrow that I found in one hand. I look around. There is a grizzly, and it is. This is true. I swear. It was 20 feet from me, walking towards me. But you know what? I had to tell myself, hey, you're supposed to be excited about this. The grizzly was acting like it just wanted to see what I was doing. I think it thought I was finding food or something, and it wanted to come over. I think if I hadn't looked up, I would have had this massive head come in front of my head trying to see what I was looking at. But then I thought, wait a second, there's a protocol for this. I'm not supposed to let the grizzly come up and pat it on the back. I shook the arrow at it and said, hey, you're not supposed to do that. And it looked at me like I'd been really unfriendly, and it just walked away at that point.
Oh, you probably hurt his feelings, bro.
It acted like I hurt its feelings.
I bet it did.
Like I wasn't being friendly. It was just trying to be nice and wanted to share the food. They're all over here. When I go to my cabin, I carry bear spray. I usually have a dog with me, and I watch the dog's nose and ears, so I get some early warning. I haven't had particular problems, but I wonder if my day is to come yet.
I hope not, brother.
Black bear.
Yeah, I know y'all got those. Gee whiz, dude. I see. That's like, I know people think of Florida, and when they think of the swamps, they're like alligators and snakes and all that. And it's like, yeah, I don't get scared of that. But if you put me in Alaska, bro, I'm gonna be on alert. I would be like, oh no, you know.
You put me in that swamp, and I'll be convinced I'm about to die.
It's one of those things, I guess, you know. Well, okay, hold on. Somebody brought something up in the chat. Let me find it. It was interesting. Okay, it says Norman Sollie. If I also remember right, she accidentally killed her first 2 babies by washing them in freezing water after giving birth.
Well,
do you know anything about this?
I do. That person is really close, but they're thinking of Zana, which was a female almasti, they call it, in Russia, that was imprisoned in a human family, and she would be given alcohol and became somewhat looser, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And she had several men impregnate her, and she would do this. She never learned to speak any words. She seemed to be able to understand basic conversation, but she would take her newborn babies and she would wash them off in the freezing cold river, and they would die. So eventually the other women in the village would take the babies away from them, and that's how some of them survived to adulthood, including classically Kiewit, as he was named. So
now,
close.
do you see similarities in Kiewit and our guy over here, our boy?
A little bit. I've got pictures of Kiewit and one of his sisters in the book as well, as a compare and contrast. They're in the book too. Kiewit, in some ways, looked even more like a Neanderthal. He had obvious brow ridges. He had what's called a robust skull. You look at my skull and it looks kind of like a 98-pound weakling. Kiewit's skull was thick and it was robust and had a brow ridges and high cheekbones and a big squared off jaw. And he might literally have had a Neanderthal background. A lot of the Russian researchers believe quite literally that actually what they're looking at are remnant populations of Neanderthals, and they could be right.
Let's see that's where I lean. Like if I had to say it was a human, I'm definitely going there. And there was a book. I always forget this damn book name. It's like Among Us or Amongst Us or I don't know. Anyways, it's a book about Neanderthal, and it completely sheds new light on Neanderthal, right? Because when most people think Neanderthal, they think this Geico caveman. He's wearing fur, he's carrying a club, dragging his woman by the hair. But the way this guy put that Neanderthals were, he kind of describes a Bigfoot. You know what he's saying, and they have the tapetum lucidum that causes the reflection of light, right? They're the one, at least what it said in this book, that they're the one species that had that, which would also, you know, make sense with what people are seeing when they either seeing eye glow or eye shine, you know, because if it's an ape, people, the chances of it having eye glow or eye shine are slim to none. It would have to be one of the only apes that has that. But if you look at Neanderthal, you know, the possibility there. And then, you know, the whole time of there were actually more Neanderthals than there were modern humans at one point. Because they were like killing us and eating us, you know. The Y-Files, if you guys know that podcast, you should definitely listen to that. Them plus us. That's it. That's it, bro. That's the book. So you've read this book.
I've got a lot of books here. Yeah, I use it as a reference summon before Patty. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so you said you were writing another one.
Yep. It's.
You were writing another book. Okay. Well, what's this one going to be about? The same thing?
It grows upon Patrick because of what I found out in Patrick. In my research, I think that I can make a little bit of a case that Sasquatch is an evolutionarily plausible being. That with what we understand now about evolution, Sasquatch can make some sense. At one point, the Earth was teeming with different types of hominins. Teeming that we know of. There was like 12 different types in the Homo line. And we find very few of the species in the fossil record. So if we found 12, there's probably more. And they were race. And I think what we may be looking at now is a mix and a hybridization of species coming together and going apart, finding each other again 100,000 years later. I think things might be very complicated, but I think Sasquatch may have a place in that story. And that's what Volume 2 is about.
There was a book out by these guys that ran this Facebook Find Bigfoot. Do you remember that? They would do all the Bigfoot videos and breakdowns and stuff like that on YouTube and Facebook. But they wrote a book about basically the evolutionary chart, as in Sasquatch being the missing link. Like we evolved from them. So you have Sasquatch as this apex predator, very smart, very large, strong, perfect to survive in the woods. And then the next step was to lose the strength, but to gain the intelligence, you know, to be able to build fire and, you know, erect civilizations and things like that. It was very interesting. I don't know how true it was, of course, but you know, it was a very good read. I wish I could remember the name of that book.
Yeah, if you think of it, let me know. I want that book.
Yeah, it was a good one, man. It was a good one. Well, buddy, tell us again where people can check your book out and hold the cover up so they know they're buying the right damn book. Back it up a little bit. All right, there you go. Before Patty.
Yeah, Before
all right,
Patty Patrick. And this is volume 1. It's also available as an ebook or Kindle. You can get it as a hardback as well, which has a slightly different cover, but it's the same title. Probably the easiest way is beforepatty.com, which is my author website. You can also just use Before Patty in your search engine at Amazon. Should pop right up. It's available there. If you're a library, you can get it through Ingram Spark, or you can go to Barnes & Noble and ask for it, and they'll order it for you, or other bookshops. It is available, so it can be ordered.
Right on. So if I buy it from beforepatty.com, will you autograph it and send it to me if I buy it on there? Are you shipping those?
I haven't been shipping them, but if you use the contact form on Before Patty, I'll make it happen that way.
Sounds good, brother. Well, hey, dude, listen, I learned a lot tonight, and I'm super glad you came on. When you get ready to put out part 2, hit me up again, and I'll have you back on, you know. And I will definitely hit you up when I come up to Alaska, because that's happening. I've been talking with another buddy of mine who does YouTube videos, and we were discussing places to go to, and Alaska is on the docket, you know, for next year at least.
I'd love to host you. I've had activity both at this house and up at the cabin, so I could show you a couple things.
Right on, brother. Well, hey, man, thank you so much for coming on. And I'll put after the show's over with, I'll put your book in the description so people can get it there too.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Stacy. It's been a good interview.
Yeah, man. You have a good evening, brother.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Wow, that was a really good interview. I loved that. What did we learn? We learned that Zaina is the original baby mama. That's what we can take from that interview. No. Seriously, though, it was a good one, man. And I've got a lot of stuff to do. I've got this video I'm working on for Cabin in the Woods that's coming out soon. However, this wouldn't be a call-in Wednesday without taking some damn calls, now would it? Let me turn my Bluetooth back on. I'm going to switch my headphones. Bear with me, people. 1 second. It's so weird when I can hear myself, like right now. I can hear myself now that I'm plugged into my board. I'm thinking about just going back to the way I was with Richie and just wear 2 damn sets of headphones. Maybe make me some kind of helmet. Okay, so while we wait, how about this, people? While we wait for me to get my crap together, let's play that Tate trailer again. This is going to be coming out in a few weeks, and it looks like I'm frozen. Let's hope this breaks the cycle.
I wish you were here. I heard you'd give me a hand. I don't know what to do. What did you do that day? Huh? With that shaman? Listen to me, I'm talking to a dead man like he's gonna answer me. Do you even hear me, Pa? The sap is dried up.
What?
I cut 3 new trees on the east end of the property last week, and it's like I never cut them at all.
Then what? Yourself. We can't go on like this.
I just need time to think. It's not that simple.
Why is it not that simple said? Why?
To fully understand, you must be without.
Where are you taking me? No matter what they say, don't trust them. They don't save you.
Who are you? We've been out here for a long, long time. So let's just leave it at that. I will save you. Leave it at that.
We got no sound. Do we got sound now? We got sound now. Am I frozen? Because I'm frozen on my end. These technical difficulties, bro. It's like if I change the headphones, forget it. I'll lock up. My screen freezes up. Here I have been talking this whole time with no sound. Y'all should have sound now. Anyways, great interview. Still can't hear me. Still can't hear me. There we go. Okay, y'all can hear me, and I take it you can see me. I'm moving. I'm not just a frozen screen. Is that correct? Sorry about that. Steph Cuervo, Queen. You are not deaf. I am just a moron. Okay, you can hear me, but can you see me? Can y'all see me? Am I waving my hand, or is it? I'm not frozen. Okay, we're good to go. All right, people. 850-695-0522. Let's take some calls. Let's see who's going to call in and tell me their Bigfoot stories. I've had people calling all week and leaving voicemails. And if you have emailed me in the last 2 weeks, I promise I'm going to get to them this weekend. Maybe Monday. I don't know. I'm so far behind. I've been sick and super busy. It's one of the joys of owning a daycare is that these kids come in and they make you sick, and their parents send them. They say, oh, yeah, they just got allergies. They ain't got allergies. Them kids carrying strep throat, son. What you done brought them to my house for? But here we are, watching your kids, and I end up sick. So my vitamin regimen doesn't seem to be working. Who knows? Who knows? But 850-695-0522, 850-695-0522. If you got a question, if you got concerns, you want to tell me about your sighting, you want to tell me about your ghost story, the time you got abducted and met Ronald Reagan, please call and let's talk about it, because I'm definitely digging it. That trailer y'all just seen is from my short film Tate, based on the legend of Tate's Hell. We are turning it into a feature film. It was a success for us. Everybody that's seen it loved it. We packed out the IMAX. We packed out a bunch of places. And so we're going to make it a feature film, but we're going to release the short film here in a few weeks on the channel. I'm going to run through 2 more Friday releases, and then it will be a special event. And then after that, me and Shane will go live and talk about Tate's Hell. I may bring on Mark Muncy and some other guests to also tell us different stories about Tate's Hell. Because not only is this old legend stemming from that section of land, but tons of UFO activity, ghost encounters. Some people even some people say that they see the spirit of Seb Tate himself, and also a lot of Bigfoot encounters. So the whole swamp there is pretty gnarly, and so we made a movie about that. I've been wanting to do that since like 2018, and we finally got it done. Steph Cuervo saying, I could not find your conjuring investigation you said you had on your channel. Okay, Steph, it's not on my channel. It's on YouTube. It's called The Conjuring House Experiments. If you type that in right now, you're probably going to see our interview with Tony Merkel come up, and then the film will come up as well. It's damn near close to 2 hours, but we went to the Conjuring House for a week, rented it up, and they had a list on the wall, and my buddy owned the place, and they had a list of things you couldn't do. And I'll tell you this, he allowed us to do all of them. It was pretty cool. It was pretty bad, but it was we shouldn't have done that stuff, but we did, and it was fun. And then Corey busts off with, it's not the house that's haunted, it's the land. You should bury me in the ground. And I'm like, don't say that, brother, because we will build a coffin and put you in the ground. And he's like, let's do it. And so we went out and dug a hole, and we did a spirit box session from the library inside. We had one person down in the well, and then we had Corey out in the yard buried, not 6 feet under, because we hit this massive stone. But he was in the ground, and his little coffin we made was covered. So if y'all are into paranormal, y'all would enjoy that. It's not demonic, Christina. It's not demonic. But it was a paranormal investigation like I'd never been a part of before. All right, people. We don't get no calls here. I'm gonna turn it off. Because I could sit here and ramble, but who wants to hear me sit here and ramble? You want to hear me take calls, right? People got to call. There's never been a show where nobody's called. Can't be a call-in show. Maybe I should have promoted it in the title as such, but I didn't. It's more focused on the interview that that we just had, Also, another thing I want to talk about, a lot of people are commenting on the video from last week. Apparently, here we go. We got our first call. Let's see if this goes through. You're on the Bigfoot Underground.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
How you doing, bud?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good. I see I'm watching your show here.
Yeah, buddy. So what can I do for you?
Well, I live in Northeast PA, and I actually have video of strange things going on in my yard. I actually have a real portal opening up, orbs.
Hey, let me get you to turn down your computer or whatever you're listening to the show on, because I can hear it in the background.
Yeah, I got it off.
Okay, cool. So all right, you got orbs, you got footprints. What else you got? You said a portal?
Yeah, I got it actually on video. And what happened was I have a security camera. I have 2 of them, one in the back of my yard and one on the front porch. Now, we live near an area where there's plenty of woods. I mean, really dark. And in our backyard, there's no lights. And there's no streets in the back of our house. It's just woods and a house behind us. And one night I was like, I've been hearing a lot of things on the security camera. Like, I get alerted, and I started hearing things. I started watching things. And one day I'm looking at my security camera, I turned around, actually. I was watching TV, and I just glimpsed at it, and I seen this thing, like a white, like probably like on the screen, it looked like the size of maybe about 12 inches round, glowing bright white and illuminating. And I'm like, that shouldn't be there. It's pitch dark. There's nothing that could be there. So I go outside and look. I can't see nothing. I go back inside. I can see it on the screen. I have thermal imaging on my camera. So I'm watching this thing. And I'm watching it grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I couldn't believe it. There was no one around. It was just me. And I took my phone out and I started videoing the security camera TV, that little TV I have in my room. And I started filming it to get proof. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Excuse my language. And I couldn't believe what I was watching. And I'm like, something started coming out of it. Something's like, it looked like almost like not smoke, but some type of white, cloudy looking thing started pouring out. And it started going above my shed. And it came out. Now that all disappeared. But then I started catching other stuff. I started catching the orbs in the yard. I mean, this is nighttime, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, no one around. We live in an area that's real quiet and secluded. And I already knew about watching a lot of stuff on YouTube. You know, it's not a bug that I have in the video. You can clearly see it's an orb. And I would take my camera and I'm able to zoom in on what I'm seeing here. And every time I zoom in, these things started acting crazier. The orbs started going around nuttier. Weird things started happening after that. It started to become into the house type of stuff. And I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want people to, like my mom, she's 80 years old. Mm-hmm. I didn't even want to say nothing to her. I didn't even want to scare her. So I'm like dealing with all this and what I'm seeing, and I can't believe it. And I'm like, what is going on here? And I started seeing other weird stuff. I started seeing white, not glowing red eyes, white eyes in the blue. It's like an old rail bed behind our house where these 4 big giant pine trees are. And there's nothing behind us but a big field. I mean, it's woods. And I'm watching this stuff, and I'm like, what is going on here? And I'm like zooming in on it. And then, like, every time I would zoom in on it, my camera would freeze up. And I'm like, what is going on here? There's nothing wrong with my camera. It's new. It shouldn't. Every time I would zoom in on what I was looking at, it would freeze my camera. And the orbs that I've seen and other stuff and the big footprint and the little baby footprint, just one each. Now, nobody knows any of this. Nobody knows what's going on. Where I live, there's no kids. It's mostly all elderly people. And where I seen this in my backyard, I went out one day to where that railroad bed is. There's no rail tracks there no more. It's just an old bed. And I went out there and I seen a big foot. I didn't measure it or nothing. You know, I always believed in them. I knew they existed. You know, I didn't need anyone to convince me. And some of the things that I heard and seen, I can't even explain to people what happened to me. A lot of things, it started coming into my house, the interactions with these things. I'm sitting at the edge of my bed watching my TV, and I have a wooden floor in my room, and I have, like, when you walk, you can feel the boards moving. So I have my slippers on. I got my ass on the bed, my feet on the floor, and it's like somebody is walking right around me, and the boards are going in and out, and I'm like, what is going on here? Then other stuff started happening. One night I was going to bed, and it felt like a dog jumped up on my bed. I was on the left side of the mattress, and this thing came up from the right side that jumped on my bed and started walking up to me like a dog would. I could feel its like paws in the bed, like moving like a dog would, and it came right up to me. Now I was so scared out of my mind. I couldn't even move. I was petrified. I didn't know what was going on. Then I could feel things in between my mattress going around, like it felt like someone took a pool table ball, like an 8-ball or something, or not. You know what I'm talking about. Balls from a pool table. It felt like someone took one of them and was rolling it between the mattresses, and I could feel it underneath between my mattresses. This was going crazy. I didn't know what to do, and it went on like that for 2 years with a lot of stuff, and other things that I've seen it where I actually seen a video of this on Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, I think it was, where these two guys go to other places. They're involved with Skinwalker Ranch, and they go to other places to film people's incidents on their property. Yeah. And this one lady up on the, I forget what mountain it is, but this lady, they go to her house. She has a cabin, and she has video, and she shows them of it raining orbs on her video. Well, that's the same thing that happened in my yard. I was going crazy. I thought it was snowing, but it was the middle of summer, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, what is going on here? And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And to this day, all the action still continues. But I'll tell you this, I actually moved out of the house because of all the stuff that was happening. And to this day, my mom doesn't even know this. And my brother that lives with her now, my older brother, he's starting to experience stuff now. He's on the front, because he smokes marijuana. I don't do that stuff no more. And he's out on the porch late at night, and he's hearing these loud screams and different things, and he can't explain what they are. And I'm telling him, it's not a bobcat, and it's not this, man. I go, I can't really get into it with him because he'll think I'm nuts, but there's a lot of things that are going on there, and some other things that I got involved with around the house. Like I don't do drugs or drink, and I did that when I was all younger, and I don't have no mental issues or nothing like that. But when this all started happening, I felt like I was having mental issues. Yeah, I was going crazy because I couldn't tell anybody.
Let me ask you a question.
I couldn't say
did you film this portal?
I have the portal on video, and I have the orbs on video too in my yard.
Brother, do you mind emailing me? I would love to see that.
No, why would I lie to you? I could email them to you, that's for sure. Hold on, let me get a pen here and I'll write it down. Hold on a second.
Yeah, brother. Wow, that is amazing.
I see on the what's that?
I said that's amazing. I would love to see something like that.
Yeah. Hold on a minute. Let me write this down. Yeah, I never really shared it with anyone because you know how people today think you're crazy.
Oh yeah, and, absolutely.
They're what I've seen. I just I did try to show one or two people that I thought I could trust, and they couldn't make anything out of it. And this thing is clear as daylight. The orbs, especially, because there's no doubt you'll see them. But the portal, you have to remember where you see this white big thing opening up. There's nothing there. It's pitch black. There's no cars back there. There's no roads. There's no telephone poles with lights. There's nothing. It's pitch black, and there's no kids around here. There's none of that. This was there for days, this portal. It was there. I watched it go from something small to something big. Like, this didn't happen in 5 seconds. And it was there for days. And then when it finally went away, I went out there. I'm looking around and weird stuff. And then there was other things, too, that I did. I actually took a whole full jar of peanut butter, the seal on it, the cap on it, and I put it out there. I put it out by the tree. Well, a couple of days later, I go out there. The jar was open and was licked clean. Now, peanut butter is oily, and it would be hard for any type of animal to take a lid off, pop the seal, and lick it clean. And I put a big giant marble out there, like a big jawbreaker marble, a green one. Mm-hmm. Well, something big bit into that. There was a big tooth mark into it. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, it would be hard for a bear to grab that because it's so slippery. And to take that and put this deep hole in it, you could see a canine fit into that. I mean, really deep. And I put other stuff out there, and it was gone. It disappeared. Hold on, let me write this down. So on here, I see
Bigfoot.
Big
Stacy, Stacy.
S Hold on 1 second, buddy.
Okay.
STACY. What's after that? 13?
13 for Dan Marino at gmail.com.
And what's after the 13?
At Gmail. That's it. It's just Bigfoot Stacy 13 at gmail.com.
Hold on. At gmail.com. All right, I could do that. And your first name is Stacy? Stacy?
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. Send me
right.
that. I would love to see that.
Oh, I'll send it to you. I would love you to share it with people too. Just don't use my name. But what was I going to say? Are you the guy that was with Les Stroud?
Yeah, I was with Stroud back
and the
beginning
guy
of May.
in the woods.
Yeah. Yep.
And I watched that video. Yeah, I actually watched a couple of your videos, and I happened to see you on. I actually have you. I subscribed to your channel.
I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, people that are real, I'll go on and listen to, but some people just throw all kinds of smoke and theories. But I like people that go in the woods and do the real footwork and the real science behind all of it, you know?
Yeah, you know, I mean,
yeah,
I have
I'm
my
gonna,
theories, but that's all they are is theories. I'm not sure exactly what the hell I'm doing or what we're after, but I know they're real. And that's where...
they're definitely real. They're definitely... Now, I'll give you my opinion real fast.
Yeah, brother.
They're definitely real. They definitely can leave their bodies. They can leave their bodies and go back into them. And I believe the orbs is some type of way they could... It's their way of approaching things without, physical form. Like it's some type of thing. I don't know what it is. But people have said they've seen faces in those orbs. I've never seen any of that. But, I mean, I've watched everything from Sasquatch to Ontario to Arkansas Bigfoot to many other ones that talk about them leaving their bodies. And it's just, I don't know. I know God created everything. But I just know that the devil creates stuff too. And I don't know if God put these big creatures in our life. Some people call them the protectors of the wood. God doesn't need anyone to protect his woods. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We have bears and deers and moose. I just can't find anywhere in the Bible where it says God created a half human, half ape-looking creature.
Well,
I can't find it anywhere.
There is a picture that is painted, I believe. You should check out Robert from Cabin in the Woods. He has a whole video on it, but it's about Bigfoot from antiquity, and there's a painting in the Sistine Chapel.
Right.
And there's two Bigfoot creatures there down in the cave.
Yep, I've seen that. Yep.
So who knows?
Well, we do know they go back a long time, these creatures, back when the Indians were here. But were they here when Jesus was here? I don't know. I mean,
who's to say?
I just don't believe God created them.
He may not have,
the devil does his work too.
But God created all kinds of terrible people as well. You know what I mean? So he may have created these things. I would believe that whatever God is, I believe he created everything on our playground. At least I give him credit for, and my sighting, I believe, was God putting me on a different life path. Getting me off of the stuff I was doing and getting me into a better life, a more fulfilling life. And that's just my opinion. I know some people are probably like, oh my God, this guy's out of his mind.
Well, I get that part where you're coming from about helping you out and all that, God. And I was into crank, meth back in the 80s, heroin in the early 90s before fentanyl come around. I've done everything. And, God gives us all free will to make the right choices. Some of us made bad choices. We were followers instead of leaders. And it took us a long time to figure that out. That what we were doing just wasn't good, and it's not the right thing. But I mean, some people think a tree is God. But that's their choice. When they stand before God, they will understand that.
Everything when I look out my door, everything I'm looking at right now is to me proof God exists. I'll just leave it at that. Well, brother, please send me those videos and include your number too. And I will call you if you don't mind. And I will, after I see the videos, I'm gonna have a ton of questions I want to talk about.
You got it, Stacey. Ain't a problem. Hey, listen, it was nice talking and nice meeting you. And I will send them to you, and then you just let me know what you think.
Yeah, brother. I appreciate you calling in, and I appreciate you sharing your stuff with me, dude. And we'll talk soon, okay?
All right, Stacey. Talk to you again.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
All right. My name.
Oh, man. I didn't mean to hang up on you, dude. I'm sorry. I'm bad about that. Okay, so crazy gator hunting story. We were talking about it earlier. Robert from Cabin in the Woods asked. And I'll tell you one. Me and my buddy, I was like 11, and I hung out with this friend of mine named Bucky. Rest in peace. He's no longer with us. And we were in a ginu, flat bottom canoe, and there was a gator in the creek, and we were going to get it. You know, he was a few years older than me. We were just little redneck kids with a boat, you know, doing stupid stuff that we shouldn't have been doing. And we snuck up on this gator, and I was going to crack him in the head with a paddle. We were going to kill it. Didn't know how we were going to kill it. And as we got up to him, I took the swing because I was the guy in the front, and it's like, hit him with it, Stacy. And I'm trying to impress my older friend, right? So as I go to strike this gator, the ginu tips over, and we fall on this gator. And this gator probably was only 7-8 feet long, but I was like 11. It was probably only 4 foot something at the time. And we fall out the water on this gator, fall into the water on this gator. And thank God the gator was as scared as we were, because he hauled ass. And we were able to get back in the boat. And, you know, without getting eaten. But that would be my scariest gator hunting encounter I had. The last time I went, we were after a massive gator. That people had been feeding. They were throwing their fish scraps at the marina down to him. He was massive. He was like 13 foot, but we couldn't get him. The storm was popping lightning and stuff, and they kind of make some skittish. So they tend to not surface as much, and they can hold their breath for, I believe, like 30 minutes. So we would see him pop up, and then we would head to him, and then gone again. I like it. I don't like hunting anymore, is my problem. I don't like killing anything anymore. But if it's a nuisance gator and they got tags for it, I will go. I will go and hunt. However, everything has a right to this planet the way I see it. If I've got a right, if dumbass me with a Bigfoot podcast has a right to be on this planet, I believe everything does. But I love me some fried chicken. I can't. A weird thing, my chickens wouldn't come out of their coop today. So I've got to place a game camera out there tonight to see maybe what's coming around. That's usually a sign of predation. You know, they had a predator probably come to the coop last night, and they kept them in the coop. I've never seen them do that. But I had the door open till like 2 o'clock, and none of them wanted to come out. They just sitting there looking, so I just shut the door. Yeah, Ralph. Well, you know, people travel certain paths in life. I've done my fair share. Or kind of a cocaine guy myself. Back in the day, you know. But people make mistakes. People grow, people learn, people move on, people can't get better and get off that stuff. You know, just like some people who were saying he's a drug addict are dickheads. And hopefully they'll grow out of being a dickhead. You know, we all fight our own demons. It's really easy to talk about people and their drug addictions as y'all drink beer and liquor or prescription pills. Just because a doctor gives it to you doesn't make it any less of a drug. 850-695-0522 for you people who would like to call in. Tell me your stories. If you've seen a portal in your yard, brother, call me. I want to hear about it because this world is stranger than we believe. Ain't that the truth, program? Ain't that the truth? Yeah, that might be good, Eugene. He said, if my chickens stop laying, just put up a picture of Colonel Sanders in their coop. My chickens are my pets, bro. I love my chickens. I could never, when I originally got chickens, I was going to get 40 and I was going to cycle these chickens and always cull 10. But we named them within 2 days. We're holding them. And that never happened, which I'm glad it didn't. Like I said, I don't like to kill things anymore unless you break into my house. And then that might be an issue. Don't wake me up when I'm sleeping, bro. I'm a bear. I get cranky, especially if you're trying to steal my stuff. Can't do that. Outside of that, dude, I don't want to kill nothing. I just want to enjoy everything. I have plenty of animals that are friends. I have like 7 raccoons right now. Some died, and then everybody filled in. There's some little babies out there. They're so cute. They are small. They're like Chihuahua size. Mama's got 2 of them right now. And then I have a huge possum. I have all kinds of animal pets, and I can't imagine killing any of them. Some people, they don't mind, but me, myself, I just can't do it. I'll feel bad. This Friday, people, we are dropping Journey to Believe episode 1 in case you haven't seen it. If you are a member of the show, I appreciate it. And I dropped some new content today, an interview of myself that Robert filmed. I'm telling my story out by the campfire. It's about 40 minutes long. People that have seen it love it. There's a bunch of content on there. If you're not a member today, you can join. And all that content is available to you. Also, if you are a member, you get to come to the members only expedition that will happen in the Red River Gorge in Kentucky, October 1st through 4th this year. We are going to try to set the record for the world's largest Bigfoot expedition ever put together. So please come be a part of it. The only thing you have to pay is your camping. This place we are staying is 300 private acres. 98% of that is wooded, and there are things on that property that you will not see anywhere else in the Red River Gorge. Native overhangs and stuff where they stayed. It's really cool. I've seen the pictures. I'm going in July up there to check it out. So super excited, and I hope that all my members and my friends, I hope y'all all come and see me. We're going to do some live podcasts. I've got some great guests that I'm talking to about getting out there, because we want to entertain people, and we want to start making it a yearly event, something like Squatch Stock or something. So y'all get out there. The camping, it's like $30 a night. That's going to the landowner. Can't do no better than that, unfortunately, but that's not bad. Like, it's peak time for Red River Gorge. It's going to be beautiful. The weather's going to be great. And we're going to have a really, really, really good time. I promise you that. When people see what we have in store put together, you'll be shocked that you didn't have to pay for it. That's all I'll say to that. Well, people, looks like we're not getting another call. I'll give it 5 more minutes, 6 more minutes. Does anybody in the chat have any questions while we wait? If we don't get a call by 10:30, I'm going to sign off for the evening because I have a plethora of stuff to do. So, any questions? Okay, Lori says, as far as the Patty film goes, I would like to say they've had 50 years, and in my opinion, the statute of limitations have running out on debunking it. Case closed. I understand what you mean by that. I disagree. If there's any kind of new information we can get. And here's the thing. If Patty is proven to be fake, it changes a lot in the way we hunt Bigfoot. It changes a lot in what we know about Bigfoot. Maybe there's some things that we believe that are not true, because anything that we would have learned from that piece of footage would be fake. And we would need to know that so we can reevaluate the data set. We can reevaluate our methods and get that straightened. So if it's fake, we do need to know, unfortunately. I know people don't want it to be fake. I don't care. I just want the truth, whatever that may be, right? And that's how everybody, I hope, can look at the situation. It's not something we want to get mad at the filmmaker or the lady who brought the footage forward or anything like that. But y'all should all at least take a look at it, because we need to know. At the end of the day, Patty can be real. Patty can be fake. It doesn't change the fact that Sasquatch is real. And that's what we all believe anyways. So, let's see. I think we had some other. Was there a baby squatch in the Patty film? Steph Cuervo 9639 wants to know. I have no idea. I know MK Davis points out a lot of stuff in the Patty film. I don't see it. Maybe. I believe there was some person in here talking earlier about Patty was wearing some type of thing around her neck. I think you're staring at the computer screen too long, buddy. Maybe though, like a lanyard, I think he said. Maybe though. Who knows? I have no idea for sure. Griff 3224 wants to know, how did you manage to keep warm in Canada? That's a simple question. I didn't. I froze my ass off the whole time. Coldest I ever been. But it was good. Robert from Cabin in the Woods gave me a pair of pants to wear because I was wearing like 4 layers and it was still freezing. And he gave me these pair of pants that kind of made it manageable, you know, but I was still super cold. Let's see what else we got here. Henry got a copy of the Patterson film that he got from Patty Patterson that he paid $20,000 to digitize the best and the only remaining first generation copy of the film from her safety deposit box. The ever curious first edition of the film. Where is it and why is it went missing? Who knows? Who knows, people? It's just like NASA. They lost the moon landing footage. Y'all still believe they went to the moon? Anytime? Like Artemis, any of it? I'm going to say no on my part. My belief, my trust in NASA is none. None. Curly Canyon trip, Eugene. Curly Canyon trip. That is going down in September. Okay. Yep, September. We are headed to Curly's Canyon to see if we can't have another run-in and retrieve the sleeping bag. I'm going to make basically a video like I did last week about it. You know how I documented my trip to Canada? I'm going to document that whole trip too. Stroud is coming. He's bringing his camera crew. I'm bringing my camera guy. And, you know, we're going to have a go at it. I have got to figure out what I'm going to do about my back. So that's the biggest problem with me is like my back is trash. And these hikes, the hike down should be fine. But the hike out won't have me laying down. And see, I'm going to be traveling, like flying in a plane. So that never does me any good. Is what it is, you know. Got to sack up sometimes and bite the bullet. Okay, buddy. They went to the moon. I'll never believe it. If they went to the moon, okay, I'll give you this. This guy here saying they went to the moon. If they went to the moon, what you've seen for the moon footage is fake. They could have went to the moon and faked the footage. I could believe that because possibly not being able to get film through the Van Allen radiation belt doesn't make sense. It also doesn't make sense on how they got them people through the Van Allen radiation belt, especially in the tin can. Not sure if you've seen what they wrote in. I have. I'm pretty sure I could punch through the damn thing. I don't know how it survived the massive vacuum that is space. But who knows? It's probably just because I don't understand it. But yeah, no, I'm not getting in on that. Have you ever had negative health effects after experiencing Bigfoot activity? Thank you, Rose Moon Waters. Negative health effects, I have not. Negative life effects, I have. And it's usually a question I ask people when they've had a Bigfoot encounter is like, did your life go to shit afterwards? And you should ask people the same. You may be shocked at the answer that you hear because most of them will tell you yes. Now, I had a conversation with Stroud and Logan from the Bigfoot live stream app. Their life both went to shit after they had their Bigfoot encounters. But they blamed it on just life going to shit, right? So I guess it's all how you look at it. So, Francis, are we going to warn Curly that people are looking for him? Okay, so anybody that's seen my video last week, you will know how I kind of approach this stuff. And I am going to try to make a connection. That is all I care to do, is to make a connection with the Sasquatch. I would love to see one again. Love to find some tracks. But in my reaching out, my efforts to connect, I will warn that very bad people are wanting to look for you. So, hopefully he doesn't think that we're one of those bad people. Thank you, Francis Menendez, for that. Did I hang out with Todd Standing? No, I did not. He did not go on the trip. Les doesn't tote him around. However, I want to meet Todd. I want to sit down and interview Todd and ask him questions. I know what the majority of people on here think about Todd Standing, and I get it. I get it, people. Todd Standing is a very controversial figure. You know, but But I do want to ask him some questions. I do want to sit down with him. I would love him to take me out. Let's go, brother. Show me. So hopefully it doesn't affect me in a negative way, as in people think that I'm a hoaxer because I went and hung out with Todd Standing. But brother, I want to talk to all of them. I want to talk to all of them. I've hung out with Rick Dyer. He is a hoaxer. He hoaxed the Bigfoot body twice, and people fell for it twice. I had a very good time hanging out with him. I was in a movie with him. Les Stroud was in that movie too, and so was Tom Green. Very good time. You know, he was one of those guys that like to light the fire and watch the shit burn. You know, interesting person he was. Oh, Foul Owl. Foul Owl thinks I'm dumb, everybody. Buddy, I'd run circles around you about what I know about the fucking moon. And they're not YouTube conspiracies. Pull your head out your ass and look yourself is all I got to say about that, brother. Get a grip on reality. I got a grip on reality, buddy. I got a good grip on reality. The next you're going to tell me that we had nothing to do with 9/11, right? What else you going to come at me with? They went to the moon. They went to the moon. Okay, buddy. And the president spoke to him on a fucking landline. Right? That didn't throw nobody off. We lost the footage, guys, of where we went to the moon. The most important thing in human history. We lost it. Just lost it. That moon rock that y'all gave old president over there, why was that a piece of wood? Why, when he had that tested, that was a piece of wood? What's up with the shadows? Huh? Please tell me about these things. Science, science, science. We all want to see science. Depends on what it is, right? If we agree with it. If it steps on our religious or evolutionary beliefs. You know, we had a guy in here earlier who was, I guess, a scientist. You know, so the problem with science is that they speak in absolutes. Can't do that. You don't absolutely know anything. I mean, sure, you can know the makeup, the molecular makeup of this can of Zen here. But you're not. That's why you have your theory about gravity. You don't actually know what it is. So it's not a law. People are not, I don't know. You're told certain things from a child and you just parrot them the rest of your life. Because most of you go about your days and you don't pay this stuff any mind. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just how it is. We have lives, right? We're not paid to sit there and study stuff like this. So we have to end up putting faith into something. And that's what I find funny about science. Science and, you know, atheists and people like that, they often pick on religious people for, oh, well, you have to have faith. Brother, everything in science, for the most part, is faith. You have to base faith in it, especially the people listening to the show, right? Because you don't actually know. Like, we all have a faith that the earth is round. Now, how many of y'all been to space and seen the shit? You haven't. You've been handed a picture. You've been told something. You know what I mean? And maybe that's a bad analogy. But I guess you could get what I'm saying from that. Look at this. 90% of people I know can't read a map or light a campfire. They are experts about the moon. Of course they are. They're next going to tell us that the moon used to be a part of the earth. Okay. and then tell me why so many indigenous tribes have history about a time before the moon was there. Right? But yes, people, we need to realize that outside of our own little personal bubble, we don't know much. We have to take people's words for it. And it doesn't make you a lunatic to look into things. Hell, you're all here on a Bigfoot podcast with me right now. You know? But I will stand on my statement. Maybe they went to the moon, but they faked that damn footage. If you're going to sit here and tell me that that moon footage is real, I don't know. I have such a problem. Not a problem with you believing that. You can believe all you want, but I can't understand the logic. Like, hey, let's look at these things. Why can't we look at these things? And what do you say about all these intersecting shadows and things like that show different light sources? What do we say about the Van Allen radiation belt and the Red Bull can that they traveled through? You know? I guess we just ignore it. And then the moon footage in itself. Do you know what that was? How many of you are aware that that was not an actual feed from the moon? What that was, what you watched on TV, was a projection. They projected it onto a wall and the news cameras were allowed to film it. Is that not fishy to you guys? Does that not bother y'all? I mean, think about if I walk into the woods right now, if I walk into Torreya State Park, I'm going to lose service in 2026 on my 5G cellular device. I'm going to lose it. However, the President Nixon, spoke to the astronauts while they were on the moon on a landline. What's going on, people? Oh, man. It would be awesome if we were on the moon. We should get into it one day. We should get into the Smithsonian, Lori, and talk about that. That's another thing. That's another thing that seriously blows my mind. The Smithsonian and how they're kind of just they get federal funds, but they're not a federal agency. They're just kind of their own entity. Almost like the Vatican, right? The Vatican's not really in a country. It's kind of its own place, right? Okay, Daniel. Daniel said I'm going to have to text his phone. Okay, Daniel, I will do that. And hopefully you can send it. Right? But anyways, people, this Friday, Journey to Belief's dropping. Next Friday, we're going to have my interview with Robert from Cabin in the Woods. The Friday after that is going to be Tate, my short horror film that I hope all of you come and tune into. I do hope you all enjoyed the show tonight. It was great. Y'all go buy that guy's book, Norman's book. I'm going to buy it as soon as I get paid again. I am going to purchase me a signed copy for my shelf. I have many books, many Bigfoot books. People that come and visit my house probably think I read, though I don't. But I'm a big book on tape kind of person, right? Anyways, thanks everyone that has tuned in tonight. I really appreciate it. I can't believe we're still sitting at 217 people right now, and I'm talking about signing off. But got some more content coming, and hopefully y'all enjoy it. I am busting tail on getting y'all stuff that y'all, I believe, will like. So until next time, everybody.